Welcome back everyone. Today we are going to start chapter 3, data handling. 3.1 introduction. In your previous classes you have dealt with various types of data. You have learned to collect data, tabulate and put it in the form of bar graphs. The collection, recording and presentation of data help us organize our experiences and draw inference from them. In this chapter, we will take one more step towards learning how to do this. You will come across some more kinds of data and graphs. You have seen several kinds of data through newspapers, magazines, televisions, and other sources. You also know that all data give us some sort of information. So we all know that data gives us information. Let us look at some of the common forms of data that you come across. So you can see in table 3.1, temperature of different cities as on 2006. Ahmedabad 38 degrees Celsius and minimum is 29 degrees Celsius. Bangalore 28 degrees Celsius, 21 degrees Celsius minimum. And in Delhi it is 38 degrees Celsius and 28 degrees Celsius minimum. And in table 3.2 you can find Football World Cup 2006. Ukraine beat Saudi Arabia by 4-0. Spain beats Tunisia by 3-1 and Switzerland beat Togo by 2-0. So table 3.3 show the showing data weekly absentees of the class. So you can see the absenteeisms of children are shown. How many children were absent? In Monday 3 children were absent, Tuesday 1, and Wednesday all were present, and on Friday 2 were absent. So these are the absentees table. We do this collection of data. What do these collections of data tell us? For example, you can say that the highest maximum temperature was in Jammu on 26/2006, so as on table 3.1, or we can say that on Wednesday no child was absent as in table 3.3. Can we organize and present this data in a different way so that their analysis and interpretation becomes better? We shall address such questions in the chapter. So 3.2, collecting data. The data about the temperature of cities as in table 3.1 can tell us many things, but it cannot tell us the city which had the highest maximum temperature during the year. To find that, we need to collect data regarding the highest maximum temperature reached in each of these cities during the year. In that case, the temperature chart of one particular date of the year as shown in table 3.1 will not be sufficient. So if we want to get the maximum temperature for a year, this table as it given in 3.1 is not sufficient. This shows that a given collection of data may not give us a specific information related to that data. For this, we need to collect data keeping in mind that specific information. In the above case, the specific information needed by us was about the highest maximum temperature of the city during the year, which we could not get from table 3.1. Thus, before collecting data, we need to know what we would use for it for. So we should know that for what we are using the data for. Given below are the few situations. You want to study the performance of your class in mathematics, performance of India in football or in cricket, female literacy rate in a given area, number of children below the age of 5 in the families around you. What kind of data would you need to in the above situations? Unless and until you collect appropriate data, you cannot know the desired information. So if you don't know why you are collecting data, you cannot get the desired information. What is the appropriate data for each? Discuss with your friends and identify the data you would need for each. Some of this data is easy to collect and some are difficult. So 3.3, organization of data. When we collect data, we have to record and organize it. Why do we need to do that? Consider the following example. Miss Neelam, class teacher, wanted to find how children had performed in English. She writes down the marks obtained by the student in the following way: 23, 35, 48, 30, 25, 46, 13, 27, 32 is 38. In this form, the data was not easy to understand. She also did not know whether her impression of the students matched their performance. So Neelam's colleague helped her organize the data in the following way as in table 3.4. So you can see the data is arranged in a table roll number wise: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Names: Ajay, Arman, Ashish, Deepu, Faizan. So marks obtained out of 50: 23, 35, 48, 30, 25. So above marks were plotted in this. And then roll number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Govind, J, Kavita, Manisha and Neeraj. And the marks obtained: 46, 13, 27, 32, 38. So you can see in this form Neelam was able to know which student has got how many marks, but she wanted more. Deepika suggested another way to organize this data. So she suggested another way. So in this, the marks are arranged in highest to lowest. So you can see Ashish, Govind, Neeraj, Arman, Manisha, and you can see here the marks are arranged here. So it was easier for them. But the roll number are not in order now. It is in the order of the marks obtained. Now Neelam was able to see who had done the best and who needed help. Many kind of data we come across are put in tabular form. Our school roll number, progress report, index in the notebooks, temperature record, and many other are all in the tabular form. Can you think of a few more data that you come across in tabular form? When we put data in the proper form table, it becomes easy to understand and interpret. Try this. So you can try this example. After that, 3.4 representative value. You might be aware of the term average and what have come across statements involving the term average in your day-to-day life. Isha spends on an average of about 5 years daily for her studies. So Isha studies 5 hours daily on an average. The average temperature at this time of the year is about 40 degrees Celsius. The average age of people in my class is 12 years. The average attendance of student in a school during its final examination is 98%. So many more of such statement could be there. Think about the statement given above. Do you think that the child in the first statement studies exactly for 5 hours daily? Or is the temperature of the given place during the particular time always 40 degree? Or is the age of each people in that class 12 years? Obviously not. Then what do these statements tell you? By average, we understand that Isha usually studies for 5 hours. On some days, she might study less number of hours, or on the other day, she may study longer. Similarly, the average temperature of 40 degrees Celsius means that very often the temperature at this time of the year is around 40 degrees Celsius. Sometimes it may be less than 40 degrees Celsius, and at the other time it may be more than 40 degrees Celsius. So it is clear. Thus, we realize that average is a number that represents or shows the central tendency of a group of observation or data. Since average lies between the highest and lowest value of the given data, so we say average is measure of the central tendency of the group of data. Different forms of data need different forms of representative or central value to describe it. One of these representative value is the arithmetic mean. So you know that arithmetic mean AM. You will learn about the other representative value in the later part of this chapter. So 3.5 arithmetic mean. The most common representative value of a group or data is the arithmetic mean or the mean. To understand this in a better way, let us look at the following example. Two vessels contain 20 liter and 60 liter of milk respectively. What is the amount of each vessel would have if both share the milk equally? When we ask this question, we are seeking the arithmetic mean. So it is clear in the above case, the average of the arithmetic mean would be total quantity of the milk upon number of vessels. So quantity is 20 liter plus 60 liter upon number of vessel is 2. So it will become 40 liters. 80 upon 2 is 40. Thus each vessels would have 40 liters of milk, and the average of or arithmetic mean or simply mean is defined as the sum of all observation upon number of observation. So you can note this down. So sum of all observation upon number of observation. Consider these examples. Example 1, Ashish studies for 4 hours, 5 hours and 3 hours respectively on 3 consecutive days. How many hours does he study daily on the daily basis on average? The average study time of Ashish would be total number of study hours upon total number of days which he studied. So if 4 hours, 5 hours and 3 hours upon total number 3 days. So it will become 4 hours per day. So that is 12 upon 3 is equal to 12 hours per day. And thus we can say that Ashish studies for 4 hours daily on an average. Example number 2, a batsman scored the following number of runs in 6 innings. So you can see 6 innings and scores and calculate the mean scored by him. So you can add the total 282, and to find the we need to sum all the observation and divide it by the number of observations. So in this case it is the total number of runs upon total number of innings. So you can see 282 upon 6 is equal to 47. Thus the mean run scored in an inning are 47. Where does the arithmetic mean lie? So try this. How would you find the average of your study hours for the whole week? Think, discuss and write. So you can try these examples. It is very easy. If there is any doubt, you can write it in the comment section. 3.5.1 range. The difference between the highest and the lowest observation gives you an idea of the spread of the observation. This can be found by subtracting the lowest observation from the highest observation. We call this result the range. So this is called range of the observation. Look at the following example. So you can see here example number 3, the age in year of 10 teachers of the school are. So there are age of 10 teachers for 32, 41, 28 and so on. What is the age of the oldest teacher and that of the youngest teacher? What is the range of the age of the teachers and what is the mean age of these teachers? So you can see arrange this in ascending order. So the youngest teacher is 23 and the oldest teacher is 54. We find that the teacher of the oldest age is 54 and the youngest is 23. So it is clear here. And the range of the teacher is 54 minus 23. So range is 31 years. It's subtracted from the highest minus lowest. And the mean is add all these 10 teachers upon 10 to a number of observation. So is equal to 350 upon 10 is equal to 35 years. So it is the mean. So here is a simple exercise. So you can do it, and if there is any doubt you can ask it in the comment section. So we can help you. So here is mode. 3.6 is mode. As we have said mean is not the only measure of central tendency or the only form of representative value. For different requirements that from a data, other measures of central tendencies are used. Look at the following example. So to find out the weekly demand for different sizes of shirt, a shopkeeper keeps record of the sales of size 90 centimeter, 95 centimeter, 100 centimeter and 105 centimeter and 110 centimeter. Following is the record for each week. So you can see the inches and number of shirts sold 8, 22 and 100 centimeter shirts are 32 sold and 105 sold 37 and 110 sold 6. So total is 105. So we can see if he found that the mean number of shirt is sold, do you think that he would be able to decide which shirt size to keep in stock? So mean of total shirts sold is equal to total number of shirts sold upon total number of different sizes. So you can see 105 upon 5 different shirts are here. So it will become 21. So should he obtain 21 shirts for each size? If he does so, will he be able to cater to the need of the customer? The shopkeeper, on looking at the record, decide to procure shirts of size 95, 100 and 105. He decide to postpone the procurement of the shirt of other sizes because of the small number of buyers. So these are the highest selling values. So he kept in stock these shirts. Look at the another example. The owner of a ready-made dress shop says the most popular size of dress I sell is the size 90 centimeter. Observe that here also the owner is concerned about the number of shirts of different sizes sold. She is, however, looking at the shirt size that is sold in the most. This is the another representative value for the data. The highest occurring event on the scale of size 90. This representative value is called the mode. So this is called the mode of the data. The mode of a set of observation. The mode of a set of observation is the observation that occurs most often. So which occurs most often is the mode of the set. Find the mode of the given set of numbers 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 4. So we can see that many numbers are repeating itself. So arrange the numbers with the same value together. So you can see 3 times 1, 4 times 2 and 3 and then 2 times 4. So the mode is 2 because 2 is occurring most number of time. Mode is this data is 2 because it occurs most frequently than other observations. So mode of large data, putting the same observations together and counting them is not easy if the number of observation is large. In such case, we tabulate the data. Tabulation can begin by putting tally marks and finding the frequency as you did in the previous classes. So let us look at the following example. So example number 5. Following are the margins of victory in football match of a league. So you can see the victory of football match league. So find the mode. So margin is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and tally mark you have written here. So you can see 1 has occurred, 1, 2, 3 and this is called 5 and this is 4 times. So this is 9 and then this also 5, 4, 14 and third 3 has 5 and 2, 7 and here 5 and fifth 5 has 3 times and 2 has 2 times. So you can see total is 40 but 2 is occurring maximum number of times. So looking at the table, we quickly say that 2 is the mode since 2 has occurred the highest number of times. Thus, most of the matches have been won with a victory margin of 2 goals. So they won by 2 goals, maximum number of time. So here is a thing discuss section. Can a set of numbers have more than one mode? So there can be more than one modes. You can see find the mode of the two number 3 times 2, and then this it is already arranged. So you can see here the 2 is 2 and 5 are occurring 2 times. So here 2 and 5 both occurred 3 times. Therefore, they both are the mode of the data. So you can see. So there are some more examples. So you can do it, and if you have any doubt, you can ask it in the comment box. So median 3.7 is median. We have seen that in some situation arithmetic mean is an appropriate measure for central tendency, whereas in some other situation mode is the appropriate measure for central tendency. And let us now look at the another example. Consider a group of 17 students with the following height in centimeter. So you can see some students have heights in centimeter given here. The game teacher want to divide the class into 2 groups so that each group has equal number of students. One group has a student with height lesser than a particular height, and the other group of student has a height greater than that of a particular height. How would she do that? So you can see a teacher wants to make 2 groups after a certain particular height. She wanted less than that there will be in a group, and greater than that particular height there will be another group. So she does that by this method. She added all this, and the total number of students will give 13.113.5. So if the teacher divides the student into 2 groups on the basis of this mean height, such that one group has a student of height less than the mean height and the other has the group that has the height more than the mean height, then the group would be of unequal size, and they would have 7 and 10 members respectively. So if she does that by this as a mean, one group has 10 and other group has 7 students. So the second option for her is to find the mode. So the observation with highest frequency is 115, which would be taken as mode. So there are 7 children below the mode and 10 children at the mode. So therefore we cannot divide the group into equal parts. Therefore let us find therefore we think of an alternative representative value of measure of central tendency. For doing this, we again look at the given height in centimeter of student and arrange them in ascending order. So she had done put the students in ascending order. The middle value of the data is 115. So from here total are 17. So the middle value will be 9 term. So 9 term is 15. So you can see 3 and 3. There is a 9. 9 term is 15 because this value divides the student into 2 equal groups of 8 students each. This value is called a median. So you can see when we put the data in the ascending order, and the middle value is the median. Median refers to the value which lies in the middle of the data when arranged in an increasing or decreasing order, with half of the observations above it and the other half below it. The game teacher decide to keep the middle student as a referee in the game. Here we consider only those cases where number is observation is odd. So this is applicable when the number of observation is in odd, so that you can get a middle value. Thus, in a given data arranged in ascending or descending order, the median gives us the middle observation. So you can see now in general we may not need the same value for the median and mode. Thus we realize that mean, median and mode are the numbers that are representative value of the group of observation or data. They lie between the minimum and maximum value of the data. They are also called the measure of the central tendency. So these mode, median and mean is also known as the measure of the central tendency. So here is the example number 7. Find the median of the data 24, 36, 46, 17, 18, 25, 35. So we will arrange it in ascending order. So you can see we have arranged in ascending order. So here are 7 values. The middle value is 25. So 25 is the median. So here is an exercise. So you can do it by yourself. If you find any doubt here, you can ask it in the comment box. 3.8 Use of bar graphs with a different purpose. We have seen last year how information collected could be first arranged in a frequency distribution table, and then this information could be put in a visual representation in the form of pictograph or bar graphs. You can look at the bar graphs and make deductions about the data. You can also get information based on these bar graphs. For example, you can say that the mode of the longest bar is the bar represents the frequency. So 8381, choosing a scale. We know that a bar graph is a representation of numbers using bar of uniform width, and the length of the bars depend upon the frequency and the scale you have chosen. For example, in a bar graph where numbers in units are to be shown, the graph represents 1 unit length for one observation. So graph represents 1 unit length for one observation, and if it has shown a number of tens and hundreds, 1 unit length represents 10 or hundreds observation. So it depends on the number, how many number it is. If it is 10 or 100, it will represent 10 or 100 observations in 1 unit. So you can see, consider the following example. So you can see in the example 8, 200 students of 6th and 7th classes were asked to name their favorite color so as to decide upon what should be the color of their school building. The results are shown in the following table, represent in the given data on the bar graph. So you can see favorite color red, green, blue, yellow, orange, and number of students red 43, green 19, 55 blue students, and yellow 49 and orange 34. So you can put that in a graph. So you can see, answer the following question with the help of the bar graph. Which of the most preferred color and which is the least preferred? How many colors are there in all? Why are they? What are they? So solution, choose a suitable scale as follows. So scale has been chosen. Start the scale at 0. The greatest value is in the data is 55. So the end scale at the greater value is greater than 55, that is 60. So they have chosen 60 as the highest because 55 is the highest observation. So use equal division along the axis such as increment of 10. You know that all the bars would lie between 0 to 60. We choose the scale such that the length between 0 to 60 is neither too long nor too small. Here we take 1 unit for 10 students. So here 1 unit is for 10 students. Here is 1 unit and this is for 10 students. So you can see here is this students in y-axis, and in x-axis the color is there. So here it is specified scale 1 unit is equal to 10 student. So you have seen. We then draw and label the graph as shown below. From the bar graph we conclude that blue is the most preferred color. So you can see blue has the greater number of students because the bar representing blue is the tallest. Green is the least preferred because the bar represent green is the shortest. So you can see represents shortest, that is 20, and here it is 55, the tallest. There are 5 colors. They are blue, green, red, yellow, and orange. There are these are observed in horizontal line. So you can see they are observed in horizontal line. So now example number 9. Following data gives total marks out of 600 obtained by 6 students in a particular class. Represent the data on the bar graph. So you can see students Ajay, Bali, Dipti, Fayaz, Geetika, and Hari, and marks obtained are as follows. Solution, to choose an appropriate scale, we make equal divisions taking increment of 100. Thus 1 unit will represent 100. So here the value is greater, so we are taking 1 unit as 100. What would be difficulty if we choose 1 unit to represent 10 marks? So if we do that, so it won't come in our graph paper. It will be too large. We have to have a very large graph paper. So for our ease, we are using 100 as 1 unit. Now represent the data on the one bar graph. So you can see scale 1 unit is equal to 100 marks. You can see this is marks on the y-axis and students on the x-axis. So you can see 100, 100, 100. So here 600 is maximum, and they are plotted according to their marks. So here you can see Hari has the highest mark. So drawing double graph. Consider the following 2 collection of data given the average daily hours of sunshine in 2 cities, Aberdeen and Margate, for all 12 months of the year. These cities are near the South Pole and hence have only a few hours of sunshine each day. So hours of sunshine are given. In Margate, you can see 2 hours in January, February 3.25, that is 1 by 4, and 4 hours. So you can see here, these are the data. And in Aberdeen, average number 1.5 hours, 3 hours. So similarly it is given here. By drawing individual bar graph, you could answer a question like in which month does each city has maximum sunlight. So you can see by the graph which has the maximum. When you plot it in the graph, you can see which city has the maximum sunshine, in which month does it has the city has minimum sunlight. So you can also give that by looking at the graph. However, to answer the question like in particular month which city has more sunshine hours, we need to compare the average hour of sunshine in both the city. To do this, we learn to draw what is called a double bar graph, giving the information of both cities side by side. This bar graph is given in figure 3.1, shows the average sunshine of both cities. For each month, we have two bars, the height of which gives the average hours of the sunshine in each city. From this, we can infer that except the month of April, there is always more sunshine in Margate than in Aberdeen. You could put together a similar bar graph for your area or for your city. So you can see the double graph. So this highlighted one is for Aberdeen, and the white one is for Margate. So you can see Margate has always a higher, but in 2 months, that is in April, only in April, the Aberdeen has the greater number of sunshine. So you can see the unit is 1 unit to 1 unit per scale. You can see hours of sunshine, and this is month in y-axis. So you have seen that. So you can specify here in the month of June, it has the Margate has the highest number of highest hour of sunshine. So look at take a look at another example more related to us. A mathematics teacher want to see whether the new technique of teaching she applied after quarterly test was effective or not. She takes the score of 5 weakest children in the quarterly test out of 25 and in the half yearly test out of 25. So she has taken the students with lower grade. So in quarterly, Ashish, Arun, Kavish, Maya and Rita has had their marks like this, and in half yearly also they had like this. So she plotted a graph in which white is quarterly and the shaded one is half yearly. So there are different, so here one scale is representing 5 marks. So you can see it will be more easier to when we plot 5 as 1 unit, and here is the y-axis is marks and x-axis is the student. So solution, she draws the adjoining double bar graph and find a marked improvement of most of the students. The teacher decided that she would continue to use the new technique of teaching. So after new technique of teaching, students were having good marks. You can see after half yearly, the graph is increasing steadily. So can you think of few more situations where you could use bar graph? So there is a try this example section. So here there is another graph. So you can easily do this if you want, because it is looking very easy. There are two, it is similar as the above example. So you can try. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. Now there is another, that is chance and probability. So it is important and it is not very difficult. This word often come up in our daily life. We often say there is no chance of it raining today, and also say things like it is quite probable that India will win the World Cup. Let us try and understand these terms a bit more. Consider the statement 1. The sun coming up from the west, an ant growing to 3-meter height. If you take a cube of larger volume, its side will also be larger. If you take a circle with larger area, then its radius will also be larger. India winning the next test series. If you look at the statements above, you would say like that sun coming from the west is impossible, an ant growing up to 3 meter is also impossible. On the other hand, if the circle is on the larger area, it is certain that it will have a larger radius. You can say that the same about the larger volume of the cube and the larger side. On the other hand, India win the next test series or lose it, both are possible. So chance 3.9.1, chance, if you toss a coin, can you always correctly predict what will you get? So try tossing a coin and predict the outcome each time. Write your observation in the following table. So when you toss a coin, there will be true probability. One will be heads or tails. There are 2 chances. So do this 10 times. Look at the observed outcome. Can you see a pattern in them? What do you get each head? If you is it that you get head all the time? Repeat the observation for another 10 tosses and write the observation in all the tables. So what you get, if it is head or it is tail, do 10 times and write it in the observation. you will find that the observations show no clear pattern. So there is no clear pattern, either it will be head, either it will be tail. In the table below, we gave you the observation generated in 25 toshes by Sushila and Salma. Here H represent head and T represent tail. So you can see there are 25 observation, and you can see head, tail, tail, head, tail, 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 head, tail, tail. So you can see head, 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 and tail, tail, head, tail, 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 and all tail. So you can see, what does the data tell you? Can you find a predictable pattern for what head or tail? Uh, Clearly, there is no fixed pattern or occurrence of head and tail. When you throw the coin, each time the outcome is every throw can be either head or tail. It is a matter of chance that in one particular throw you get either of these. In the above data, count the number of heads and the number of tails. Throw the coin some more time and keep recording what you obtain. Find out the total number of times you get a head and the total number of times you get a tail. You also might have played with a die. The die has 6 faces. When you throw a die, you can predict that the number will be obtained. While playing Ludo, Snake and ladders, you may have often wished that in a throw you get a particular outcome. Does the die always fall according to your wish? So you know that no. Take a dice and throw it 150 times and fill in the data in the following table. So you can see number of dice. If you throw one die, tally marks and number of times it occurred, and number die to take 2 dice and do that same. Make a tally mark each time you get the outcome against the appropriate number. For example, for the first throw you get 5. Put in a tally in front of 5. The next throw gives you 1. Make a tally for 1. Keep on putting tally marks for the appropriate number. Repeat this exercise for 150 times and find the outcome and number of each outcome for 150 throws. Make a bar graph using the above data showing the number of times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 have occurred in the data. So you can see there is a try this section here. So you have to do this in group. Toss a coin 100 times and record the data. Find the number of times head and tails occurs in it. So Aftab threw a die 250 times and got the following table. Draw a bar graph of this data. So you can see he threw the die 250 times. So this is the data, and throw a die 100 times and record the data. Find the number of times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 occurs. So you can see here he got 1, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 and 5. This is 25, and 27 times he got 1. So similarly, this is given here. You have to plot it in the graph to see what it is, what is the occurrences. What is the probability? We know that when a coin is thrown, it is possible, it has 2 possible outcomes, head or tail, or for a die we have 6 possible outcomes. So we all know that. We also know from experience that for a coin, head or tail is equally likely to be obtained. We say that the probability of getting head or tail is equal and is half for each. Yes, it's the same. For a die, possibility of getting either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is equal. That is, for a die, there is 6 equal likely possible outcomes. So we can say that for each 1, 2, 3, or 5, 6 has 1/6 of probability. So 1/6 of probability means number of outcome. Number of event, number of outcome upon number of possible event. So number of possible event is 6 and number of outcome is 1. So 1/6. We will learn about this in the later classes, but from what we have done, it may perhaps be obvious that the event that have many possibilities can have probability between 0 and 1. So the probability always lies between 0 and 1. You should know that. Those who have no chance of happening have probability 0. So if there is no chance, then the probability is 0. And those that has bound to happen have probability of 1, which is bound to happen for sure is the probability is 1. Given any situation, we need to understand the different possible outcomes and study the possible chances for each outcome. It may be possible that the outcome may not have equal chance of occurring, unlike the cases of the coin and die. For example, if a container has 15 red balls and 9 white balls, and if a ball is pulled out without seeing, the chances of getting a red ball are much more. Can you see why? How many times are the chances of getting a red ball than getting a white ball? Probabilities for both being between 0 to 1. So here is an exercise. You can do that, and if you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment box.